Wake your ass up
or take a damn nap.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
It's time.
Sean, you were twerking. That's going to happen.
Murph, don't be a dick all your life.
It's one of the more fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, I tell you what, if you're not talking about sports in the man cave, I bet not say you not a man.
That's it.
Will Witherspoon down on the sidelines right now, getting an earful for busting through our banner with a hedge trimmer. I'll paint a picture for you. GC in red hammocks, black tops, gray breeches, and white shoes. Our boys in black helmets, white tops, black pants, and black cleats. Kind of looks like a roasted marshmallow you forgot to flip before it got burned on the bottom. And our bottoms got burned at Red Pine.
Well, here we are. I have the guy you just saw, Wes Blankenship, outside of Athens, Georgia, the pride of Georgia, I might add. Wes Blankenship, episode 93. You are our VIP, and welcome to Stories Inside the Man Cave. And I'm hoping this is a resume builder for you.
Thanks for having me on, Sean. Yeah, I don't know about the pride of Georgia. There's a pretty good football team representing the state right now. We'll see if they can keep it rolling.
Yeah, speaking of, you guys got a big opponent. I will talk about the Texas Longhorns in segment 2. You guys are facing the opponent, which caused a lot of the Longhorn Nation to say, okay, Sark is not the answer. Now they reversed that decision. Arkansas, Georgia, real quick, who's your pick and why?
I'm taking the Dogs, and I think it's just really because of Georgia's defense. And it's funny, the last few years, people have doubted Kirby Smart's methodology about trying to win games with defense. And people, have made claims that, the age of defense winning championships are over because these offenses are just putting up so many points and so many yards. And I don't necessarily know if that's true now. I think it maybe by and large, it's trending towards the offense, but if you have a defense that is as good as Georgia's appears to be at this point, again, the opponents have not been as tough as Arkansas will be, I would imagine, because Clemson has been exposed. And after that, it was UAB. No disrespect to them, but they're not the same caliber as Arkansas. South Carolina's struggling. Vandy is probably the worst SEC team in decades. So it's kind of hard to see, but I will say if you follow Georgia football through the years, that, in a lot of seasons, even in seasons where Georgia competed for SEC championships or playoff spots, any one of those games would have given the team a headache. They would have shown up looking unprepared, or the defense maybe would have let a team hang around a little bit longer than they should on paper. So I think if there's one thing that can carry Georgia through the season, regardless of the opponent, it is that defense, which appears to have some NFL-ready talent on it, not only on the 1 deep, but on the 2 deep as well in some positions.
That's a good analysis, and Texas fans got a up-close and personal view of Georgia 3 years ago in the Sugar Bowl. We were there in New Orleans, and in my former career, and speaking of, Wes Blankenship here was – similar paths we took. We were both sportscasters on the local level, and Wes has parlayed that into quite an opportunity that he has grown. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter, and that little tease that you saw is a spoof of Coffee Town. You and I both have covered high school football tremendously down to several layers. We've seen the metropolitan areas, the small towns. You have got that play-by-play down of small town in the South of high school football. What inspired all that? Because now you have quite an audience you developed as impersonating those small town high schools in the South, the voices of that is.
Yeah, it just comes down to a respect of the voices that I heard growing up in Georgia and working in local news in Georgia and Macon, in Metro Atlanta area. And the common thread was all of these guys, you know, their voices might not sound the same, but the way they talk, the things that excite them, just the kind of cloth that they're cut from. There's a lot of overlap between a lot of those individuals, and it's special. It's you know, it's funny, but I'm not making fun of them.
Right.
It's just taking an observation and putting my own spin on it. And it's amazing to me to see how many people relate to it. Started making those videos while I was unemployed in 2019. My contract had just gone unrenewed in Atlanta, and had the idea for several years, but decided to just let it rip when I had some creative freedom. It's easier to do that kind of thing, take more chances when you don't work for a corporation.
That's the truth.
So just let it rip and kind of took off. Different people picked it up, which helped elevate it and give it the platform that it's on. Ryan McGee and Marty Smith, to name a few. Marty's relationship with me started because of that. We started chatting a little bit more, and Marty is now a partner in the company I work for full time, which is Outsider, and excited to see where this one goes. It's a digital startup, but we have big goals and believe in what it can represent for a lot of people in America that just want to find common ground and not have to read content that is, always politicized and always leads back to the left or the right, the far fringe edges of that world that unfortunately so much of media is these days. We just want to create stuff that's fun and authentic, and hopefully people will enjoy it in the years to come, but we're only getting started right now. So a lot of exciting things to come in the years ahead.
Yeah, I know there are talents such as Marty and yourself, and even I guess you could say, as far as I can go as far as saying myself, there are some similarities. It really resonated with me because of the 4 stops I had in my TV career. I went all over the great state of Texas and Oklahoma as far as high school football, and you pick up the airwaves, and that piece you did and with building Coffee Town. Here's another example of it, and this is the one that I thought was absolutely comical. It's creative, and I know at least one person watching or listening right now has experienced this just driving through on a Friday night, or you put your earbuds in and you actually listen to your smaller hometown high school football.
Coffee Town starts the season at Red Pine, which had a live possum as its mascot up until this past Wednesday when the team dads was painting the field. Tony Hampton Sr. seen it scurry out of the end zone. He panicked and filled its face with blue paint, which is toxic to most rodents. And that was the end of Georgia 3rd. They are having a ceremony in pregame right now. There's a podium at midfield with 4 tiny cowboy boots and spurs and a possum-sized cowboy hat.
So I've got to ask, Wes, was that in one take, or is that just the brilliant talent that you have in the creativity and ad-libbing?
Oh, no, not one take, and certainly not ad-libbing. The first several videos I made a couple of years ago, I didn't really have much of a script. Now I am more organized, as ideas come up, during the off season and during the summer and that kind of thing. I just kind of make notes, make jokes, make, references, the fictional advertisers, that kind of thing. I just kind of keep it in a Google Doc, note doc on my phone, and just kind of try to weave it all together.
No, it's well done. And you've got a loyal follower in me, and hopefully some of the followers of Stories Inside the Man Cave podcast will jump on board and follow you as well. You have an appointment to make on this day of this recording, and I definitely want to make use of that. We usually end with our VIP guests with the Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency Man Cave story, and we've been blessed with some classics. Last week, Coach Norvell at Nevada talked about how Peyton Manning was such a comedian, and he took a toothbrush of the backup quarterback and cleaned the toilet with it and put it back in his locker. Do you have a man cave story that maybe you and your family or you and your guys or from your media days possibly that you love telling people about that really is a classic amongst your circle?
Yeah, so when I was working in Atlanta, my first year that I was there, the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, and I was the new guy, low guy on the totem pole. So I was back in the sports department producing from Atlanta. And at halftime of the game, NBC National called me and said, hey, do y'all have any plans logistically for the Super Bowl parade? Where's it going to be? Do you know what streets, what route it's going to be on? And I said, guys, I don't know anything about that, but I'll tell you, this is an Atlanta sports team. So let's just hold off on talking about the parade until the game is over. And at that point, the lead was so seemingly insurmountable. I remember the guy laughing at me as he hung up the phone. And for some reason, I never ended up hearing from that guy again.
For some reason, I can relate to that all too often, fielding those calls and having somewhat of a similar response and never hearing from that individual ever again. That contact will never be heard from again. I love it. I would love here in the future, and it is about that time for you to exit for your appointment, to have you and Marty on and just have a segment of college football and all the random activities you guys have witnessed, painting the picture away from the field. And I think that may be a good episode in the future.
Yeah, Marty's a busy guy. I never know what he's up to, but I've enjoyed it today, and hopefully better things ahead for Texas and a good weekend ahead for Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll be honest with you, Wes, when I was covering Oklahoma State, in 2007, I made the trip to Athens, and you have a fan for life in Athens, Georgia, in me. That was quite an experience without going into all the details. Beautiful place, great stadium. The best pregame meal I've ever had in my life was there at Sanford Stadium. And I want to thank you for it because you're the ambassador for UGA today.
Oh, man, it's great. I enjoyed it, Sean. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Wes, take care and continue doing what you do. And on the other side of this break, the Horns are headed to Cowtown. But should Texas fans tap the brakes a little bit? It's only been 2 wins. And, we'll wrap things up on the other side of this break talking about the Texas Longhorns and Wes Blankenship. Much love for your appearance, and we'll see you down the road, my friend.
Take care.
Take care. For all of your insurance needs, look no further than our primary sponsor, Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. The ATX OG has been insuring Austin for over 3 decades. And get this, Jim Saxton is a Longhorn legacy. He is the son of the late, great James Saxton, who was a Heisman finalist. Be sure to give him a call, or better yet, visit his website, saxtoninsurance.com, and tell him that the stories inside the Man Cave Boys recommended you. Hey, welcome back to Stories Inside the Man Cave, episode 93. We got to hear from Wes Blankenship. He was in between. He had a very busy schedule and had an appointment for his young daughter. So they're outside of Athens, Georgia. So we're going to have him on at a later date as well, because that guy is one of the most talented up-and-coming stars outside of a former local sportscaster there in Georgia. Great work. He produces nonstop on Twitter, and follow him, Wes Blankenship, and he does really good work and really captures what small town high school football is as far as the announcers go. Hilarious work, and he just does. He's really a cerebral guy that really gets it. All right, Texas Longhorn football headed to Fort Worth this week. That being tomorrow, the evening that this is recorded is on Friday. Texas headed to Fort Worth to face Gary Patterson, the TCU Horned Frogs. Okay, should be a win. But when you look at the way UT has performed against TCU the last decade, Gary Patterson owns the Longhorns. Let's just be honest with that and let that sink in. Texas is 2-7 in their last 9 games against the Horned Frogs. However, Steve Sarkisian, a program builder, a winner wherever he has been as far as making the steps, obviously last the OC at Alabama and bringing a good portion of his coaching staff, of the coaching staff at Alabama, to Texas. So Gary Patterson has had this edge, coaches with an edge against Texas. Well, UT, after being dismantled at Arkansas, has put together 2 very solid weeks of football in every aspect of the game. Texas looks like a team that is evolving before our very own eyes. But if you ask Steve Sarkisian about this team, what is he telling them? How are they coaching this team as they progress through the season? Well, Sark is basically saying the respect has yet to occur. Just listen to what he said. I mean, this resonates. This is really resonated with me, and I love the conviction. I love how he articulated this, because this means everything, especially to Texas fans and what they've seen as far as football since 2010.
We're in a unique situation where we've got so much unfinished business. You know, we've got so much to go out and prove. We have so much respect that we need to earn. Because I really believe this. I think right now when we take the field, a lot of our opponents do not respect us. And so we have to earn their respect, and we earn their respect in our style of play, in our execution, in our physicality. And, you know, respect is earned. It's not given.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I don't think it's all just coach speak. I don't believe that. I believe that's what he is instructing and what they're coaching hard to change the culture in Austin, Texas. Of course, Texas, I honestly, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, I think the Big 12 is theirs to lose. I think OU is struggling. I think it's not all Spencer Rattler. There was OU fan base booed Spencer Rattler at Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Norman last week against West Virginia. I thought that was disgraceful. It reminded me of when Texas booed Garrett Gilbert. I believe it was against BYU in 2011. I'm trying to remember my years. Or it's 2010, 2011. 2010 was the 5-7 season. But I think this is the culture starting to change at Texas. And I know we sound like a broken record. We kind of said that again when Tom Herman in his second year. But I think there's some significant changes. And I'll go back to the quote or what one of my friends said, and somebody tweeted as well, that they have seen more changes in actual coaching and implementation of culture changing moments the last 2 to 3 weeks in this football program than they have the last 10 years. It's pretty amazing when you think about that, because that is, I think, is factual. And I think this Texas team is progressively getting better in every aspect of the game. And I think if you watch special teams, That's fairly significant. And this week, Texas is the weather may be a factor in Fort Worth. Of course, the last time there was storms in Fort Worth, I believe it was 2013. There was a long delay, and Texas blew out blew out TCU. Could be a repeat. I'm not a big believer in that history repeats itself in football. I just think there are coincidences in that, but I am picking Texas to win 37 to 17, a 20-point win in Fort Worth. Of course, the other showdown, as we heard with Wes in segment 1, Wes Blankenship, our guest in segment 1. He's right there in the heart of Georgia Bulldog country, Arkansas and Georgia. Would you have ever circled this calendar before the year started and said, this is a key big top 10 game? No. Hell no, I didn't. And you didn't either. But Arkansas is a double-digit underdog, if you will. And I don't think they're going to lose by double digits. They have a couple of injuries, which are key. But I think if Arkansas can play as physical as they have against Texas and Texas A&M defensively, I think we keep this under 10 points. Do I think Arkansas loses? I do, because it's in Athens and because of those injuries. But they're not going to get blown out. I would be shocked. But anything is capable of happening. Of course, back home here in Texas, I think there's some excitement building from what is occurring just north of here, the same metropolitan area that I'm headed to here in a few hours.
Other than that, I've got to say, how about them Cowboys?
Man, that was beautiful. Jimmy Johnson, Drew Pearson back for the first game, the home game last week for the Dallas Cowboys. I loved it. And Jimmy still has that charisma, that energy. Loved every second of it as they were both inducted into the Hall of Fame in Canton. And for the home fans at Jerry World in Arlington to just experience that was absolutely phenomenal. Of course, Drew Pearson, always full of energy. Love that guy from a walk-on at Tulsa, University of Tulsa, the Golden Hurricane forever, to Pro Football Hall of Fame. What a beautiful thing. As for the Cowboys, well, what their game against the Eagles provoked this from the Eagles quarterback, the former Oklahoma Sooner and Alabama Crimson Tide.
You take you a deuce, you don't sit there and look at it. You flush it and move on.
Wasn't expecting that from Jalen Hurts, the Eagles quarterback, but he's not wrong. He is not wrong. They got manhandled by the Dallas Cowboys, and what he is saying in reference is, when you play a shitty game like that, you don't look back at it. You just move on. Now, I could not have said that any better, but I wasn't expecting looking back at after dropping a deuce. That's something that probably wouldn't have thought about, but that definitely resonated as far as one of the best sound bites of the week so far. But Dallas and Dak and Zeke and that entire Dallas Cowboy defense, there's something to look forward to. But we've seen this movie before. The Cowboys have good starts. They find a way to just draw you back in and then experience mediocrity. I'm not saying anything because I don't want to jinx anything. I'm a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan, and I wish my man cave boys were here, except for Coach Mo. He is obviously an old school Houston Texans fan, all Houston fan, but Harge and Big Mike would agree with me. As fans, let's not put a number on the win total. I want to see it to believe it. We've seen this movie too often. Dallas has a good team. How far can they go? I'm just going to say it should be expected they go to the playoffs this year. But after that, I'm going to have to see it to believe it. And I want to see it to believe it that they can go 8-9 wins. Actually, 9-10 wins since it's a 17-game season now. Could they be better? Of course, that's what I'm hoping. That's what we're hoping for as Dallas Cowboy fans. But we've seen injuries in the past. We just seen hard luck. This franchise is cursed. I'm convinced. I was in college loving life when they got that run going. So it hasn't been the same since then. And Dez caught it. That was a great team. But that's in the past too. And I want to pull a Jalen Hurts. I'm not looking back at that deuce. I'm just not. I'm just moving forward. Picking up wins. Piling up wins. That's how Cowboys fans should act even this week as they host Carolina, the Panthers. And that's one game at a time. One game at a time. Let's all pull that cliche out. I know we're all tired of hearing that. But as a Cowboys fan, one game at a time.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
Tell you something good. I love DJ Harger's voice, his charisma. I think Hardball Hards posted a Instagram video. DJ is an up-and-coming star, 7th grade level. They're in the Pflugerville ISD right outside of Austin here. I think he was kicking. He's a quarterback too. Yeah, so DJ, thank you, little man, and thank you for being a contributor to Stories Inside the Man Cave. You know, as far as telling you something good, I love that we were talking about all these rivalries. I love that we're just talking about it, and I love the rejuvenation. But I also love the fact, just a backstory. I was one of those guys. I had the philosophy, wherever I worked in my previous career, I would not become a fan of said team or teams I covered. Well, I'm a hypocrite. I became a huge fan of the OKC Thunder when I was in Oklahoma City, and I loved it. And I was married part of the time, and we had partial season tickets. I love the 3 or 4 guys that the group, the core: Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. We had Serge Ibaka. It was all of them. I loved them all. Well, KD, obviously Longhorn ties. But I'll tell you something good. And we thank Cosmic Coffee and Beer Garden on the south side of Austin for always being loyal and being a wonderful venue to this great city of Austin. If you want live music, if you want boozy coffee drinks, great coffee, and a great big space to enjoy the sunshine in a repurposed land of recycled water and plants, landscaping, it's beautiful. Live music too. And if you see Paulo Vasey, tell him the Stories Inside the Man Cave Boys sent you. But my tell me something good. I love it when old school retired comedians like David Letterman surface out of the blue. So during the Brooklyn Nets media day, because there's 2 former Thunder members, KD and James Harden, who play for the Brooklyn Nets. Well, if you didn't see this, look who made an appearance at the Brooklyn Nets media day. It was very random and very just typical of this old school, but yet still comical comedian.
KD, why do people call you KD? Can I call you KD? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
My first name is Kevin.
Right.
And my second name, my last name, my second name. My last name is Durant with a D.
KD?
David Letterman, still bringing it. Why do you call yourself KD? And you could hear him. He's absolutely joking. It was hilarious. Kevin, I don't know if Kevin picked up on David Letterman because he's an older generation comedian, but that was absolutely hilarious. And he says, let me write this down as he's saying first and last name. David Letterman, you still got it. Old school, man. Much love. Hey, we're about to wrap things up here on episode 93. Texas obviously faces TCU. Then the Red River rivalry is next week. And it's going to be another 11 a.m. start. So it'll be 3 consecutive weeks for the Texas Longhorns, in which they're going to have an 11 a.m. kickoff. 11 a.m. kickoff. And I want to give you a little preview of what I built for next week, and we're trying to line up some Longhorns and Sooners of old, talking about the Red River rivalry that will take place next week at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. The old girl, the venerable Cotton Bowl Stadium. I don't care what anybody says. I love that beautiful old girl. It is old school football at its finest. And, well, Texas OU, and the winner of this game, I believe, like it has in so many years, is going to determine, obviously, one of the top 2 spots for the Big 12 championship game later this year. But this is what I had to put together to get you the hype train rolling for Texas OU. I'm ready. Let's go to Dallas now. Actually, I'll be in Fort Worth, but let's go to Dallas. Man, I know it's not the greatest neighborhood, but that is by far one of the top 3 best games in college football. I've probably been to it 17 times, but only twice as a fan. We'll get that hype train rolling on Sunday, and be sure to visit us on @StoriesManCave on Twitter, our Instagram site, and of course our Facebook page. Interact, like, share, let's talk. And I have to tell you about one event here, which is on Saturday, October 2nd. It's a really big time event called the US 13 Memorial, organized in a matter of days this past weekend by Cammie Irwin. She is in the Lakeway Bee Cave area. She has been very instrumental in creating and organizing events on the fly, but this one means a lot to her. We partnered up with her to promote this at 1300 hours. That's 1 p.m. on Saturday, October 2nd. 13 boats with 13 giant flags are going to honor the 13 servicemen and servicewomen who had their lives taken from them in Kabul, Afghanistan back in August. And much love and respect to Cammie and everyone involved on that event, the US 13 Memorial. And that is it for episode 93. For Wes Blankenship for carving out a few moments in his busy schedule, and for the Man Cave Boys, Big Mike, Coach Mo, and Hardball Hard. Yeah.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.